My plan was for this second part to be like, okay, we're gonna do their college days and then we're gonna jump into MyStreet season 1. I forgot how long Falcon Claw University is. Hey everybody, welcome back to this chaos of rewatching all of Aphmau's MyStreet. If I sound kind of weird in this video, I apologize. I am sick, but I had time to binge rewatch 30 flippin' episodes. Last video in part 1, we covered season 1 and 2 of Phoenix Drop High. This video, we're gonna cover graduation days, which follows, I wanna say 2 years after the events of season 2 of Phoenix Drop High. And then we're also gonna cover all of Falcon Claw University. So we are officially in the college era. Aphmau just graduated from Phoenix Drop High. We see Caitlin again, and she actually tells us that she came down here to see Aphmau graduate. She brought her new girlfriend too, Luca. We find out that Caitlin and Luca actually attend Falcon Claw University. Does that name sound familiar to anyone? Aphmau is actually planning on going to the orientation week at Falcon Claw University, where she's able to stay in a dorm for a few days on her own and see what it's like. During a hangout session after the graduation, Aphmau tells Caitlin that she hasn't really spoken to Aaron a lot in the past 2 years, which is crazy. Aphmau tells her that she just assumes that Aaron got busy, and she's also been busy too, so they just kind of stopped talking, but it wasn't like a big falling out or anything. She knows that Aaron goes to that university, but she decides not to tell him because they haven't really spoken in so long. We cut to the campus of Falcon Claw University, where we get introduced to a new character named Jenny, or Jennifer. Aaron's in Jenny's class, and every time he enters, she's like, oh my god, he's so dreamy. I have like the biggest crush on him. He's so mysterious. At this point, we do see Aaron again, but this time he's wearing a red bandana around his eyes. This bandana, remember when I told you this was gonna be important? This is the bandana that Aphmau gave to him freshman year. Now, if you didn't watch the first part, you'll be a little confused here, but Aaron is the Ultima, and I think some of y'all told me in the comments that the Ultima has like red eyes because they have the power to transform humans into werewolves. So he's covering his eyes up because he doesn't want to change a bunch of random people into werewolves. Like, that's painful and that'd be awful. So that's why he's covering his eyes. Basically, Aaron feeling emotions is what activates his eyes most of the time. So he just basically has a red bandana over his eyes and he just goes to class that way. We meet Jenny's two friends, Betty and Kathy, and they tease her about her crush on Aaron. They happen to mention that they know that Aaron doesn't have a cell phone, which would explain the fact why he has not texted or called Aphmau in 2 years. During class one day, Jenny and Aaron's professor announces that students from Phoenix Drop High will be attending orientation week. The professor says this job should probably be for someone more outgoing, which Aaron is very much not right now. But Jenny also raises her hand and she's like, hey, I'll do it even though I didn't go to Phoenix Drop High. She gets the job and offers Aaron to be her assistant to get a chance to talk to him. Aaron walks away without saying anything. Aphmau gets there for orientation week, and we find out that Jenny is her team leader. Aphmau decides to go get a snack from the vending machine downstairs, and Aaron sees her and hides because he's like, oh my god, I haven't seen her in 2 years. He's debating on going up to her when Jenny calls him, and he runs away because he doesn't want Aphmau to see him yet. After being freaked out by seeing Aphmau for the first time, Aaron runs back to his dorm, and he takes off his bandana, and he's like, okay, get it together, man. We find out here that Aaron actually has special permission from the dean of students. Well, his dad basically paid for it. He's actually just alone on the top level of this dorm building. We also find out that Aaron has become very antisocial and I think has social anxiety. Aaron has not been allowed to really have friends or like have a social presence or interact with a lot of people. His whole life is just go to class and go back to his dorm and be constantly guarded 24/7. Some familiar faces we are seeing though around campus are Heyitsnan and also Zane. He just kind of like popped up out of nowhere. Some new characters we meet are Antonio, Tara, and Diana. Throughout the week, Aaron's trying so hard to man up and try to find the right time to go up and say hi to Aphmau, but he's just so nervous because he literally hasn't spoken to her. He didn't really give her an explanation of why he hasn't reached out. so he's just really nervous to go up to her again. So in this season, Aaron and Aphmau basically switch places. You know how Aphmau had Lawrence and Gareth and that love triangle in the first season of Phoenix Drop High? Well, Aaron actually has this weird love triangle with Jenny and Diana this first part, actually the whole college era. So while that love triangle's going on and Jenny's trying so hard to talk to Aaron, and so is Diana, and just try to they're both just trying to get close with him, Aaron's still trying to talk to Aphmau, and Jenny's taking note that he always stares at her when she walks by. However, Diana is being very forward about her intentions with Aaron and is just like, "You're cute, Aaron, let's take a picture." And he's like, "Oh, I have social anxiety." While that's all happening, Aphmau is making friends with Jenny, and Jenny's introducing her to a bunch of other people, and Aphmau's also making a few friends here and there. So during the end of orientation week, Jenny decides to bring her group, which includes Aphmau, to her class with Aaron for them to experience what a college class is like. Aaron decides that if he cannot speak to Aphmau, maybe he should just write a letter just to have some type of contact with her. So they get to their class and Aaron's like, "Oh my god, Aphmau's right there!" And then Aphmau still doesn't recognize him, but Jenny and Diana are both just flaunting over Aaron. Aphmau even sits right next to him and she says hello. He just doesn't respond because he's just so nervous. After the class, he ends up finally catching her, and he takes off his bandana for the first time, and his eyes are back to normal. They hug, but before they can even really talk, his dad's special security or whatever come and get him away from her, basically. Aaron slipped his letter he was going to give her in her pocket when they hugged, and she goes and she reads it, and she's like, "Yep, this is what I was missing." So Graduation Days is a very short miniseries. That's it. It basically just sets up for Falcon Claw University. It gives us our characters, it gives us their dynamics, and then it jumps in. So it's 2 months later, and the new semester is starting at FC. Aphmau is moving into her dorm, and her roommate is Tara, and she's also an undeclared major, we find out later on. One of the first things that Aphmau wants to do is to try to call Aaron, but his phone still does not have cell service. She's wondering if he's still on this campus because he gave her that letter, but now he's just not picking up. Two other characters we get introduced to near the beginning is Mac, who's a guy who has a cute little crush on Jenny, who's asked her out multiple times. And we also meet Ken, this other who's like one of my favorite characters, actually. He's emo and he's a conspiracy theorist. That's all you need to know about him. While unpacking, Aphmau runs into Gareth and Zane. Zane is actually a freshman like her, but Gareth has been going there for about a year. After seeing Aph for the first time in forever, Gareth decides that he still wants to try again, and he still believes that he's in love with Aphmau from high school. So Aphmau goes and she tries to look for Aaron's dorm room, but when she goes up to his floor, she sees that it's under construction, or even it was torn apart, but Aaron is no longer there. It cuts to Aaron showing his father and his bodyguards that he had to clear his whole friend list on the online game him and Aphmau used to play. His father says he can still have the game, but he cannot have any friends on there, nor in real life. Later that night in the game, Aphmau is also online. Aaron decides to go up to her and tell her he had to unfriend her for personal reasons, but he still wanted a way to make contact with her. He asked her to go get coffee with him tomorrow, and she's like, "Yeah, sure, let's go." So Aphmau and Aaron meet up, they get coffee and they catch up, and he walks her back to her dorm and is like, "Night shoe," and she's like, "Night FC." And then a very suspicious person is creeping on him and Aphmau, and slides a very threatening note, like a ransom note, under Aphmau's dorm door. Basically threatens her to stay away from Aaron. Aphmau was really bothered by the note that was left under her door, but she decides to not really share or talk about it with anyone because she doesn't want to worry anybody, and also she just hopes it'll go away. Jenny decides to ask Aphmau out to the movies with her and her friends, but it's just a reason for her to invite Aaron to go with them, which she does. Her other friend ends up inviting Diana and Ken with them as well. So this unofficial, established friend group is going out to the movies, and Aaron really wants to go, but he has to sneak out to meet them, and one of his bodyguards catches him. However, he covers for Aaron, telling him just do not do anything stupid, and lets him go. So I've mentioned it in the past, but I'm gonna mention it again now. Aaron has very heavy social anxiety, and not only is he nervous around being in front of Aph, but he's also nervous around being in front of a lot of people again. Aaron does, however, get his eyes under control, and he's able to take off his bandana and go talk to Aphmau and her friends. And when he shows up, Jenny and Diana are drooling over him. At the movies, Jenny and Diana are trying to talk to Aaron and get to know him, but Aaron is just trying to watch the movie and also help his social anxiety. I feel so bad for him. Near the end of the movie, it's pretty obvious to Jenny and Diana that both of them like Aaron, and now they have this weird rivalry tension, but they both notice that he actually hugs Aphmau goodbye to leave, and they're like, that's suspicious. So back on campus, there is a rumor going around that Aphmau had 4 boyfriends in high school. There are apparently also rumors going around that Aphmau gets around a lot. And of course, it's starting to bother her, and she becomes really upset and distant about the whole situation. So somewhere else, the bodyguard that helped Aaron go out is trying to help him live a little instead of being cooped up. He tells Aaron he actually doesn't know why he even needs to be protected, and he doesn't really care to know. So a few days later, these rumors have started to spread and gotten back to a few people around campus. And one day, Aphmau is studying outside when this dollar store looking Dante walks up to her and starts harassing her since he's heard the rumors and wants to get with her. Gareth nearby sees what's going on, and he comes over to help. Gareth ends up punching the guy so hard, he slams him into a tree, putting him in the hospital.
Dr. Umar just gonna have to understand, man. I've been across dimensions to swim in some milk, so just imagine what I would do for a Latina.
So this impact is not just like a gag being like, oh my god, Gareth whooped his ass. No, this is like an early sign of Gareth's like really weird supernaturalist strength that he just cannot control. So Gareth does end up going to the dean about this, and the dean's like, you have one chance. This could have been like attempted murder. You're lucky you're not like going to jail right now. That's how bad the impact was. Gareth looks down at his hands, and he even says himself he didn't even punch the guy that hard. So he's even confused how he could have thrown him so far. Anyway, enough about Gareth. Let's get back to Aaron. Aaron's starting to break out of his shell and actually have friends. He's got his eyes under control, so he doesn't have to wear his bandana. He's able to talk to friends, new people, his, just people that he meets, and they invite him to lunch, and he like goes and says yes. Aphmau sadly is on the other end of the spectrum, basically because of how bad the rumors have gotten and how much people are talking about her when she like enters a building. So Aphmau's kind of distanced herself out of the social picture for right now. Luca, Caitlin's girlfriend, talks to Aph and asks if she may know who started the rumor. Aphmau says that she doesn't know, but this is when she finally opens up about that weird note that was slipped under her dorm room a few weeks ago. Diana also ends up getting a very threatening letter under her door, and her and Ken decide to try to figure out who they think it is. So Aaron's enjoying his freedom, basically, of being able to go hang out with his college friends, but the bodyguard who has been giving him grace tells him he now has a curfew since he's starting to go out a way later. Aaron agrees to the curfew, saying he doesn't want to lose what he has. So Aaron, Aphmau, and the whole friend group decide to meet up and go to the mall one day, and it's obvious to Aaron that something is wrong with Aphmau. She's being very distant, she's not really talking. Aaron offers to hug her to make her feel better, but she actually ends up rejecting it, thinking that people will see her and assume something about like him and her being together, and just not helping the rumors. So at the mall, Diana and Jenny are still trying to put the moves on Aaron, and Aphmau is noticing this, and she's like, oh my god, what if it was Diana who slid that note under my door? And then Diana's like, oh my god, what if it was Jenny who slid that note under my door? As you can tell, this is a very stable and totally trustworthy friend group. Jumping to the other plot, Aaron's dad is starting to become suspicious of him sneaking out, and stating that he's spending 5 times more his allowance. The bodyguard tries to lie for Aaron, but his dad finds his movie ticket he saved, knowing he left. He ends up canceling Aaron's card. So in Aaron and Jenny's class, the professor one day decides like, hey, we're gonna do a group project, and Aaron and Jenny become group partners. So while Aaron and Jenny are outside one day working on their project, a guy comes out of nowhere and tackles Aaron to the ground. This guy is Xavier, and he claims to be one of Aaron's childhood friends, one he used to play when they were young. We do find out pretty quickly that this is actually not Aaron's friend.
So that was a fucking lie.
But this is actually an agent his dad hired to spy on him while at school. So on campus, there's this very popular coffee place where a lot of the scenes take place. And there's this episode where Zane and Heyitsnan start working there together. That's just a small tidbit, but I just think it's really cute that they canonically worked in a coffee shop together during their college years. Okay, sorry, back to the main plot. So Xavier is starting to show up around school more since he's a field agent, and kind of messing with Aaron and like basically pointing that he needs to wear his bandana, and is also just making fun of Aaron's insecurities. Xavier's not really doing his job of being a bodyguard. He's just being very cryptid and spooky and saying things like, your friends will become my friends, and Aaron's just like, huh? So at this point, we finally get the name of the bodyguard that's been protecting Aaron from his dad and letting him sneak out. We don't really get his real name, but he just tells Aaron to call him Agent R. So one night, Aaron's like, hey, Agent R, I gotta go meet up with Jenny because we're doing a group project. And he's like, bet, I'll help you sneak out. And so they trick Xavier thinking they're gonna go meet at the mall, but actually Aaron's gonna go meet Jenny outside somewhere. So while talking, him and Jenny talk about what they want in this world, and they're getting very vulnerable, and Aaron says that he's always wanted a family, one of his own. I literally started shedding tears. So moved by his vulnerability, Jenny decides to confess to him right there, right now, saying that she wants to be with him. She asks if she can be his girlfriend, and out of pure shock and anxiety and just like, what's going on, man blurts out yes.
Can I be your girlfriend?
Yes.
Before Aaron can clear anything up, being like, wait, I didn't mean that, Xavier finds him, making up some lie for him to leave. So him and Jenny are like, dating, ? They're not really dating. Jenny thinks they're dating, but Aaron's like, I only have eyes for one woman. I can't do this. So the next day, Aaron's like, hey, can we keep our relationship a secret for right now? Because I didn't mean it like that. But she's like, yeah, of course. But I'm going to tell Kathy and Betty. They're my besties. And he's like, wait. And she's like, whatever. And he's like, okay. Aaron actually confides in Agent R about the whole situation. And Agent R is like, listen, you don't want to string her along. You don't want to hurt her feelings. You need to tell her how you feel. And then he also says, it's also obvious that you have feelings for another girl, Aphmau. Speaking of Aphmau, we actually haven't seen her in a minute because she's been kind of out of the social presence, trying to like let the rumors die down. She decides to finally get out and get some sun and just like do something that she enjoys. So she ends up going out and entering the free play soccer that Kathy hosts, and she's finally feeling like herself again and just doing something that she enjoys. So while Aph is getting ready to go play soccer, someone slips another note under her door. This does bother her a little bit, but I think she definitely handles it better this time, being like, I'm not gonna let random people get to me. I'm gonna do for myself. These people have no idea what they're even talking about. So Aphmau and Aaron finally get to speak again. He catches her while she's playing soccer one day. Kathy like looks at him in a weird way while she's talking to Jennifer. Just keep this in mind. Just keep this in mind for later. So Garth is still thinking about Aphmau and how he wants to ask her out, and this is when we find out that Mac is actually Garth's roommate. Remember that guy like from the very beginning of the season? So Garth does end up asking Aphmau out to like go out somewhere, but then more people join and he's awkward, so he's like, the more the merrier, I guess. So his date with Aphmau basically turns into a giant friend group hangout where they all decide to go to the beach. At the beach, Garth throws Aph into the ocean, but she didn't tell anyone that she can't swim. Aaron does save her, lying to him that it was her ankle. A few days later, Gareth does apologize for it, and he also ends up telling Aph how he feels for her and how he still feels the same like he did in high school. She does reject him, saying she's just not ready for a relationship right now. That is L number 2 in the books for Gareth. My guy keeps losing. So Aaron is still trying to figure out how to break up with Jenny, but every time he tries to talk to her about it, either she leaves or Xavier interrupts them. So Xavier's plan is he's actually working against Aaron and Aaron's dad and their family. He actually wants to prove that Aaron is the Ultima and prove that the Ultima is real. So his plan is to basically make Aaron mad, and so when he wolfs out, he's able to record him. Xavier stalks Aaron for a bit, trying to figure out if he has some type of weakness or a close friend. And of course, he figures out that he has a weakness for Aphmau. Xavier decides to befriend Aphmau, trying to get close to her and bother Aaron even more. Derek, Aaron's dad, suddenly visits the campus, stating that if Aaron doesn't shape up, there will be consequences. He's like, I know what you've been doing. So one day, Xavier and Aph are getting coffee, and he basically lies to Aphmau's face, saying that he's Aaron's childhood friend. Aphmau knows that he's lying, so she decides to get up and leave. He goes to kick her, but before he can even do anything, or Aaron stepping in, she goes and kicks him in the balls.
So just imagine what I would do for a Latina.
So while they're hanging out, Aph notices that Aaron keeps putting up his hoodie and almost like he's avoiding someone. He tells her the whole thing about Jenny and how he can't break up with her, and she tells him that he needs to follow his heart and do what's best for him. So after this talk with Aphmau, he finally goes and breaks up with Jenny. Jenny takes it very hard and she starts crying, and she's crying in the arms of her 2 best friends, Betty and Kathy. After talking with Agent R, Aaron leaves his room, unknowing to him that his father was still in the other room listening to him and Agent R talk. Agent R is fired by his dad, saying that you did not protect my son, and basically, you're off this case. While Aaron is leaving, he bumps into Kathy, where she admits that she likes him, and she's the one who planted the notes against Jenny, Diana, and Aphmau. And she started the rumors about Aphmau. She's like a literal psychopath, I think. Actually, I think she's a yandere. I think that was canon, that she's actually just a straight up yandere. Anyway, she was wild. Betty and Jenny actually overhear them, and they stop her to take her to the dean.
Milk. So just imagine what I would do for a Latina.
Jenny apologizes to Aaron for how she treated him, and they're chilling. Oh, she also runs into Mac, the guy that likes her from the very beginning of the season, and she asks him to go walk with her to the dean. And I think it's supposed to hint that those two may have a thing in the future, but I was like, oh, I'm happy that they're getting their happy ending. So Aaron's dad meets Aaron in his room, and he says that he got a call from the dean about how some girls got into a fight because of him, aka Jenny, Kathy, and Betty. He says that this will bring more attention to Aaron, which is what he does not want. Aaron tells his father that he does not want to be under his control anymore, and that he does not want to be part of this family anymore if he's just not going to be able to have his own life. Aaron rushes out of the room, leaving his dad behind, leaving college behind, leaving all of his friends behind, and just being like, you know what, peace, I'm gonna go make a life for my own, with or without your support or your money. 2 years later, we get a time skip, people. Aaron just got his own apartment after a few months of saving up, and it's hinted that he's been working night shifts. He's also wearing his bandana around his eyes again. I don't know if that's just because for looks or his eyes are still acting up again because of his feelings, but either way, he's wearing his red bandana again. Aphmau ends up actually visiting him and buys him a phone so they can keep in touch. She is also going into her final semester at college. Aphmau gives him a box by Agent R, having all of his stuff from college in it, including his gaming computer, his books. Aaron gives her a quick little tour of his apartment, and that's it. I will say FC University is one of the longer seasons because there was so much information about Aaron and his family that was given to us. This season, Aphmau really took a seat back from being the main character. It was mostly Aaron and just trying to find his way and find this independence that he really needed to start his life. Part 3 will be coming out as soon as I can get it done. But I am excited because we are officially going to be entering the silly, goofy era. If you're wondering what I mean by the silly, goofy era, I mean the era where Aphmau has 5 love interests, they all live on the same street, no one has development yet, nothing super crazy, and Aaron doesn't wear a shirt half the time.